Today I'm going to find out if I can ride my bike faster without a chain. Yes, this is chain versus chainless versus OChain. Making good rear mountain bike suspension is a complicated engineering business because you need things like suspension curves to work properly, linear or progressive, small bump sensitivity, but support on the big hits, and we pedal these things, and actually the chain affects how the rear suspension works quite a lot. Rear suspension can work a lot better if you don't have a chain on there. Some of you might remember Aaron Gwin's phenomenal ride at the 2015 World Cup downhill, where he snapped his chain coming out of start gate and still won that downhill race. So that proves that his suspension was working really well, but also it does help if you ride like Aaron Gwin. This is my Nukeproof Giga 290 Enduro bikes. It's a 29er front and rear, 170mm of travel, and it's designed with rear suspension that's really supple to begin with, a bit of mid-stroke support, and then gets more progressive into that final part of the stroke. Also, riders can really simply change the kinematics of this bike just with an 8mm Allen key. There's a concentric axle down here, so you undo the bolt and then you can spin around this nice little tab to go from 25.5% progression up to 29 progression if you want it. That's a bit like adding volume spacers to your shock, but it's even simpler than that. I've been riding this bike in the 25.5% less progressive setting. So today I'm at Bike Park Wales and I'm going to do 3 timed runs. First on my normal bike with a chain so I can pedal, and then I'm going to repeat completely chainless to see how that feels, how it performs, and if it's faster or slower, and then with an OChain, and I'll explain what that is now. The OChain is this bit. It's basically what they call an active spider. And when your suspension moves, it actually lets the chain rotate backwards on there using these kind of clever little elastomers and also like a little ratchet system in there. So that disengages the drivetrain so that when the rear suspension moves, you don't have any resistance from it. Now this is the new OChain R, so you've got 4 different adjustments. 12 degrees works for the more rough and gnarly stuff, the 4 degrees right down for the sort of faster, pumpier stuff. I've got it set at 9 degrees and I'm going to see how it feels and see if it's any faster. You can sort of see how it works just when I pedal forward, the crank moves without the ring. I guess that's kind of confusing because what is actually happening is it's pulling backwards as the suspension's moving. Right, now to the chainless run. So I've taken my chain off and the rear mech as well. So don't want that flapping around without a chain to tension it. I feel like I've got to be pretty perfect. I might lose a little bit of time here because I am pedaling quite hard out of the gate. But once I've jumped that first step down, I think it's going to be good. There isn't much pedaling for the rest of the trail. I've also actually got less sprung mass because the rear mech's off, so that should help me a little bit. Chainless run done. Race conditions are somewhat wet, but actually really fast. Really good fun. Love riding chainless. It always reminds me I need to do it more often because the way you have to work the trail is kind of really rewarding. Some of those top jumps are really fast and you squash them and get a good pump and you're bombing along. It was slow in a couple of bits. Out of the gate felt slow. I did do those jumps and then you're up to speed. There's a couple of bits in the middle were slow, but some of the bits felt really fast and it's completely silent as well. So let's get to the times. All right, so I'm back in the garage, cleaned up. Conditions got pretty bad, I've got to say. It's always a risk when I do these videos where I'm comparing one thing to something else that you don't always get the same track, same conditions. It got really wet, although, to be honest, it felt good. It didn't feel slower. Vision was a bit worse, but it felt good. So anyway, into the times, and I'll start with the times to the bottom. I've also got some split times, which I actually think are really, really interesting. So anyway, top to bottom, first time was on my bike with a chain. I did a 3:37.80, so 3 minutes 37 seconds, 0.80. OChain, 3:35.3, so you know, good 2.5 seconds faster. Now I think this is really interesting. So without a chain, I did a 3:35.01, so 0.3 faster than any of them, and that was when it was wet as well. So with no chain. And there definitely was a slow start without a chain. Now into the splits. So 1 minute 32 to the first split with a chain, 1:33 on the OChain, so slightly slower again, bit of a slow start. No chain, 1 minute 30. So actually I was 3 seconds faster than the OChain with no chain, even though I was a second slower to begin with. And it kind of went like that again. On the second split, I did a 2 minutes 44 with no chain, which was quicker than OChain, 2:46, and quicker than the chain, 2:47. However, that's where I lost some speed. So I was much quicker to begin with, without, or no, should I say, those middle splits without a chain. But obviously then where I got to some of the couple of bits where I had to pedal, I just, I ran out of steam and I lost time. So I think that's really interesting. I feel like I need to experiment more. On the OChain, it was hard to feel it, I would say. It kind of felt a little weird when you start to pedal. You feel like almost a spongy bit before it picks up. Once you're riding, it did feel like my suspension was maybe a bit quicker. I felt quicker through one section with the OChain, but I felt really quick with no chain. So, obviously you can't ride a bike without a chain the whole time, but it's really, really interesting to see how well it does work. And you feel like you really have to nail some sections as well, so it changes the way you ride a little bit. But I feel like I want to ride the OChain a bit more. I need to experiment with the settings on that as well. And it's a bit of a kind of an eye-opener to just how much your chain does affect your suspension. But obviously You do need a chain on there for most of the time, but is OChain the answer? Let me know what you think down below. I know some of the pro downhill racers are really experimenting with this, some of the enduro riders as well, so who knows if it's a future of mountain biking where you've got these devices to sort of take out those forces, but let me know what you think down below.